Welcome everyone to Cultivate tonight. As you know, this is one of my very favorite things that Align does, where once a month we all just gather and learn something new or review something that we already knew we needed to be doing. And actually, this topic tonight might fit into both of those categories. If you're someone who has learned anything about breath work and you have used it at all, then you know how powerful it can be. I'm really looking forward to learning some more about it with my amazing friend, Beth. Before I hand things off to her to do an introduction of herself and her journey into breath work, I just have to say a huge thank you to Beth. We have a long history. I moved to a tiny little town in Nevada when I was 12 and didn't know anybody. And she's literally the first person who ever invited me to go
I
do
love
it.
it.
I know, I crack up. I'm just like, oh my gosh, very first person who ever invited me to go do anything. Of course, it was 120 degrees because it was in southern Nevada, so all we could do was swimming. But I have watched her and her practice from a distance and have always respected her. And I'm really looking forward to learning from her tonight. So I'm just going to pass things over to Beth. I'm going to be watching comments on Facebook, so I'll interrupt as needed, but go ahead and take it away, Beth.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Janae. I was really excited when you reached out to me to participate in this. This is definitely a topic that I love, that's near and dear to my heart. Yeah, Janae and I go way back to scrunchies and tube socks, and we had a great time together. But now we have grown up. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been teaching yoga for the last 12 years. Prior to teaching yoga, I taught high school. And what I saw in teaching high school, and I also taught some elementary as well, as I saw people learning to kind of regulate their systems. And I definitely saw that once I started teaching yoga, people trying to learn how to calm themselves down. And when I taught elementary school PE, we definitely needed some skills to help cope and regulate the nervous system. So I have learned through the process of teaching my own kids, teaching yoga and teaching school, how to help people just calm down and to get into the state that they want to be in. So a little bit more about my experience. I've taught yoga for 12 years. I guide teacher trainings, meditation classes, retreats, sound baths. Pretty much if you want to relax, I'm your girl. So I know that this is counterintuitive and it's probably a risky way to start a breathwork and meditation class, but stay with me. I will make sure that this makes sense in a minute, but for now, I want you to just close your eyes and settle into your space. And then just bring to your mind's eye your most recent stressful situation. This doesn't have to be like a big, huge thing. It can be like as simple as your kid forgot their lunchbox and you have nothing to pack their lunch in. It might be that you are yelling at your kids because they left the Legos on the stairs for the 100th time. It might be an argument with your partner. Whatever it is, just something that caused you stress. Maybe it was slamming on the brakes because someone in front of you stopped short. So start to tap into the details of that experience. Consider what the temperature of the air was. Were there any background noises? Then take into your awareness where you felt stress in your body during this experience. Was it in your chest, in your throat, in your fingertips? Pause to remember and just tap into where that stress landed for you. with your eyes open. And if you have a journal, something to write down in front of you, take a minute and just like jot down for a second how you felt in that stressful situation. In particular, how did your body feel in that stressful situation? Write a line or two about that. And yeah, we'll jump back in just a second. Okay, if you are still feeling a little bit of that stress, don't worry. We'll spend some time learning some techniques to release that strain and to get you back to a place of homeostasis. So we'll come back to that stressful situation a little bit later in our discussion. So I'm going to jump over onto a PowerPoint presentation.
While you're doing that, Beth,
Yeah.
when I actually was going to ask, okay, well, now I'm like stressed all over again and like a little bit sweaty. I'm sure that everyone can relate. And if you guys need just a couple more seconds before she starts into her PowerPoint, the first thing that I thought of course, was something with my kids, because that's, I mean, I have teenagers. I have a kid that doesn't even live with me anymore. And he's also, sometimes I'll wake up in the night and just, where is he? Is he home safe? I don't get to know that anymore. So for those of you who are still feeling that, I hope you took a minute to kind of write down where you feel it, because this is something that I had to learn as I went along with a counselor who has done a little bit of breath work with us. So mine is always in my stomach and then like tightness in my chest. So I wrote my things down and I'm going to let Beth go into her PowerPoint, but I just wanted to give everyone just a little second right there.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, and don't worry, I feel bad for starting this all out with, here, let's remember a stressful situation. But I wanted you to keep that in mind so that you can make a little bit more sense of what we're gonna go through together tonight. Okay. One second.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right, cool. Here we are. So sympathetic versus the parasympathetic nervous system. You guys have probably all heard these terms before. So those physical feelings that you experienced are your body changing from a relaxed state to a state where your sympathetic nervous system has been activated. So maybe at the beginning of this meeting, you're feeling calm, relaxed, chill. And then I asked you to think about something stressful. And then all of a sudden you are into your sympathetic nervous system. So this activation served our ancestors really well when they lived in caves and had to worry about being constantly eaten by large mammals. Fortunately, we do not have those same stressors in our life, but the sympathetic nervous system was really good at giving you a burst of energy. It can enlarge your pupils to let in more light, improve your vision, divert blood and energy away from the digestive system so it can be used elsewhere. All the better to get away from wild beasts. But we don't have wild beasts that we're worrying about anymore. I don't live in constant fear of being eaten, yet I still experience the sympathetic nervous system response on a very regular basis. So my body, it doesn't even care if they're real or perceived threats. It just is like registers a threat and says, okay, let's get stressed out about it. So let's look over that little slide there. The sympathetic system responsible for fight or flight. So we can respond to danger, prepares the body for any threats, and your muscles tense up, your heartbeat increases, and inhibits digestion. So we stop having saliva secretion, so we can't digest our food very well. So here's what it feels like to live in a sympathetic dominant state. So just take a second and see if any of these resonate with you. First one. feeling physical or gut reactions when opening an email or answering a phone call or text. Well, that's me. Totally me. Number 2, ruminating on situations that are out of your control. Number 3, feeling the need to flee or retreat to the safety of your own home. My bed is like my favorite place in the world. Um, so that's your sympathetic nervous system. But your parasympathetic nervous system can be activated to help you start to really relax and chill out a bit. So the sympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest phase. It can soothe you after you've been activated. And if you look up at that visual right there, it's responsible for helping you relax, winding down, bringing you back to a state of calm. Muscles relax and heartbeat slows down. Digestion and saliva secretion increase. So let's jump over to one more slide. So the goal tonight is to really just help you get a few more skills in your tool belt to help you come from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state. And ideally, maybe even just hang out in that parasympathetic state a little bit longer. So let's look at this brainwave chart here. When we're in our like thinking workday mode, we're kind of in that beta phase. And when we're in like really big situations, it'd be more the gamma phase. But beta is just like our like everyday getting through the workday, dealing with kid issues after school. That's where you're going to reside. And you can see the brainwave patterns there are tight. So the waves are really tight. And there's a lot of volume to the waves. They move a lot up and down. And when you move into the alpha phase, you're in a more relaxed state and the waves become more spacious and not as much up and down, not as much movement between each wave. And that's really the space where we are hoping to reside more often. And that will get you into your parasympathetic nervous system. There's lots of different ways to help yourself get into alpha and theta waves. The time when I first realized what those alpha and theta waves were is when I had gone through childbirth and I did this hypnobirthing thing. And it was my first experience with meditation. And I remember realizing that like the state before I fell asleep, but I was still aware, but I wasn't quite asleep. I was like, that's a big spacious place. And once I realized that like I could get to that state on a regular basis if I just put a little effort and energy into it, it was a really empowering experience. So that space right before you fall asleep or you're aware but not moving, that can be a really nice brainwave place for you to be. So here we go. So that little quote I really like: stress isn't the problem, it's our inability to deal with it. So sometimes our inability comes from just not being educated. And then sometimes it's because we don't take the time to pause and to regulate our nervous system. So there's lots of reasons why we don't do it, but stress is really not that bad of a thing. Like if we didn't have a little bit of stress, we'd all eat bonbons and sit on our couch all day long. And stress is actually good. Like stress gets me out of bed to go to my job so that I can provide for my children and so they can sign up for swim lessons and do all the other fun things they want to do. So stress can be good. It can also be bad if we don't know how to deal with it. Let's dive over to the next slide. So one of the best ways that I know to calm down quickly is to employ this strategy called BRFWA. I know it's silly, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it is very, very helpful. So BRFWA is an acronym, And it came from a place called the Kripalu Yoga and Mindfulness Institution. That's in the Berkshires in New England. And it was proposed by one of their teachers there and then written down in a book called Yoga and the Quest for the True Self by Stephen Cope. So let's dive right in. So this technique exists with 6 different steps, and they are right there in your acronym. So when you feel a stressor coming on, you can walk yourself through these steps, which we'll go through together. So the first one is to take a deep breath. Just pause and take a deep breath. The next step is to relax. So you can soften your belly or any other part of your body that has like tightened up, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. Just relax where you're feeling stress. So a lot of times that stress is in your stomach. A lot of times it's in your throat. It's in your shoulders a lot too. I'm surprised at how many people I see come into a yoga class with their shoulders up in their ears. And that's just where people they pull their shoulders up to protect themselves. So be aware of where you hold your stress. The next step is watch. Watch the sensations like an outside or an observer. So what are the sensations it's doing? Are they radiating? Are they pulsing? Are they changing anyway? Are they static? Do they move throughout your body? Just watch those sensations and be aware of what's happening. And that outside observer part is really a key there. I think a lot of times we can watch ourselves, but it's mostly with like a judgmental eye. And if you can pause and watch yourself in a detached manner without judgments, it's much more helpful than being judgmental to yourself.
I was actually
So
going to say, I feel like I can't totally relax until I almost get to that phase. Like I was going to raise my hand and say, okay, like I can't always just get everything to soften and relax. But I think it is that detached step that helps me the most is kind of being like, okay, I know where it is now. Now I'm going to look at it and yeah, not judging it. So that's a big one I know for me.
yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that, Shane. Yeah. So that watch and feel, like those two can work together really closely. And yeah, just being able to notice what's going on without telling yourself, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, I should not be bothered by this. Instead, just like, oh, acknowledge that, oh yeah, I am feeling bothered by this situation. So next step is allow. So let those feelings and emotions move through you freely and observe how that changes over time. If we don't let emotions move through us, oftentimes they get stuck. And if we can't let them flow through us, then we're stuck processing them over and over and over and over again. Next step is act. If and when it's appropriate, make a conscious choice on how to react in the moment with whatever emotion you might be holding on to. That act phase, I think, is so vital. This whole Burfwa process gives you the chance to slow things down and choose to respond in a situation instead of just react in a situation. A lot of times when we're under stress, we feel like there's only one choice for us to make, and we just have to go with whatever that knee-jerk response is, but we don't. And if you can slow yourself down, you can actually make a conscious decision on how you're going to respond. So these steps can be done in a matter of minutes. They can be done absolutely anywhere. It can be a whole day long process. I mean, think about like a time when you had an argument with your spouse in the morning, you go to work and then you can't deal with it until you come home. You can be working through these Burfwa steps that whole entire day, but also it can be as quick as like 20 seconds as well. So let's see where we want to go next. These Berkowitz steps are really like a muscle. Just like when you work out, the first couple of times you do it, it's painful and you're like, this doesn't make sense. Why am I doing it? It's not working. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel with the process. And the more you can really lean into it and realize, like, hey, this is going to help me. It's just going to take some time to make it kind of a second nature situation.
I
Um,
do
yeah,
have a question on Facebook. Someone was talking about, with your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. They were asking if that's connected to like your vasovagal nerve. How do you even say that?
vagal
To make
nerve.
myself
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Vagal nerve. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Vagal nerve. Yes, yes. They are connected. And the vagal, we really want to activate the vagal nerve. It's this massive nerve that runs through the body, and that will help you to get to your parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah, cool. Thank you. All right, I'm going to jump back to the slides. Perhaps. Okay, cool. All right, so now we're going to move on to some breath work stuff. My background is yoga. There are so many different methodologies that use breath work, but since my background's yoga, we're going to go through these next few slides and bits of information from a yogic standpoint. So in yoga, we call breath work pranayama. And pranayama, if you break down those two words, they break down to life force and extending or lengthening. So I don't know about you guys, but I'd really love to extend my life force and learn how to calm myself down. And by learning how to calm myself down, I am essentially extending my life. Can you think about how many people die each year from diseases brought on by stress? Heart disease, diabetes, obesity, depression. There's so many illnesses that are brought on by stress. And if we can learn to help ourselves, then we'll have less of those diseases. So usually throughout the day, most people breathe utilizing only 1/3 of their lung capacity. If you're just sitting and working all day, that's usually you're just breathing right up here in your chest. And there's a whole lot more going on below the chest, much more capacity for your lungs in that area. So we want to teach you tonight how to use that full breath. And one of my favorite ways to do to find your entire breath, your full capacity for breathing, is by box breathing. One of the reasons I like box breathing is because it's super simple and it's one that you can use anywhere, and like people don't even know you're doing it. So you can be standing in line at the grocery store doing it and it's fine. It doesn't, you're not going to draw any attention to yourself. Adults can do it, kids can do it. I think it's really fun because there's like some elements that you can bring into this box breathing technique that can help children as well. So, and in the yoga world, we call box breathing samavriti. And in the non-yoga world, the Navy SEALs actually use this one to help teach their members how to calm down when they're in really stressful combat situations. So very diverse breathing technique. So when you get stressed out, again, you're only using that top little portion of your lungs, and you get an extra shot of cortisol, and then your breath gets even more shallow when you're stressed out, which actually leads to more anxiety. So we're going to learn how to deepen that breath, calm things down, calm the heart rate, and then provide ample oxygen to our bloodstream. So the technique goes like this. I'll just talk you through it and then eventually we'll do it together, but let's just talk through it for a second first. So you can do this with a pencil. Again, that's kind of the reason why I like to do it with kids, is sometimes there's like a tactile element to it that can be helpful. So you can grab a pencil, you can be making your square yourself, or if you're standing in the grocery store line, you can just be thinking a square in your head. So when you start this breathing technique, you will breathe in for a count of 4, just like you're drawing one line up on your square. And then you're going to pause at the top of that breath and hold for a count of 4. And then you're going to imagine yourself drawing the line across the top of the box for a count of 4. And then you'll exhale for a count of 4, drawing the third line down. And then pause at the bottom of the breath for a count of 4 as you complete the square. Yeah. So this breathing technique can have that physical element of drawing. It's also kind of becomes a little bit of a mantra because you are counting, and that extra effort used to count can help focus your energies and not let your brain spin out into crazy land. Instead, it can like dial it down back into where you want it to be, which is the present moment. So again, box breathing can help get you into that alpha breathing pattern. So this breath work can actually be done in conjunction with your Burfwa. It can be a part of that Burfwa practice. It can be something that you work through with Burfwa and then maybe do the breathing technique, or start with the breathing technique and weave that into your Burfwa, depending on like how much time you have to help yourself deal with whatever stressful situation you are in. So let's go back to that stressful situation you were in at the beginning of our time together. So I want you guys to go back to that stressful place, and we're going to hopefully deal with it a little bit better this time around. So let's take a minute and do this breathing technique together. And then we'll dive back in, maybe write a few notes on how you feel afterwards. So come to a nice tall seat wherever you are. The reason we want to get into a tall seat is so that we can fully utilize the entire cavity of our lungs. When we are slumped over, crouched down, then it's harder to access that full space. So let's get comfy and we'll sit up nice and tall. Notice how you're connecting to the earth or whatever you are sitting on or standing on. Maybe it's carpet, maybe it's a hard chair, maybe it's a soft sofa, whatever it is, start to feel yourself connecting to that space. And just shutter your eyes or soften your gaze. And we'll begin that breathing pattern together. So take a deep breath in for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. As you draw your first line, pause at the top. As you draw your second line for 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause at the bottom of the breath as you complete your square for 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll do that one more round all together. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. And pause. So you can just stay there with your eyes closed and bring back to your mind's eye that stressful situation. Take a minute and feel where that stress is popping up in your body again. And practice one more round of that box breathing. And while you do so, start that process of relaxing. softening the hard lines and edges in your body. And then start to feel the sensations of your body. Feel where you're activated. Then watch those sensations. Are they moving, radiating, pulsing, changing, evolving? And allow those sensations to move through you. And then if the timing is right and if it makes sense for you, you can choose to act. And this is your chance to kind of rewrite that experience. Is there a way that you could have showed up in that experience that would be more in aligned with what you value most in life? Is there a way that you could have responded that would have been you speaking from your heart a little bit more than maybe you did? Notice and take a moment and see if there's a way that experience might have unfolded differently had you practiced Burfwa or box breathing. So just take a moment there and we'll move back to some slides. So you take a minute while I get my slides going again. All right, so we got a few more minutes together. Trying to decide where we should go with this. Shanae, how am I doing on time?
You are doing great. We're just barely at 6:33. So we do have a few more minutes. I do want to comment on how much better I feel. I think a lot of times I forget how many of my reactions are like fear, just like you're saying, right? The instance that came to my mind was a text that I got from my kid at the school, and sometimes that doesn't always go so smoothly for this particular kid. And it really does elicit a lot of fear that a lot of times I move right into, I mean, something I'm working on is not moving right into anger, right? It's because I'm so scared, I just get angry and I'm like, you can't do that. Right. But I love what you said about, just responding in a way that's more true to how you are, right? Which is not dismissive of my kids' experience and really listening, so I can, when I do use box breathing or when I do use any type of breath work, I can tell a huge difference. And my responses are just that, more true to who I wanted to be and how I wanted to react. So that's I think where so much of the power is in this.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the word align, which is really I love that that's your company name because really like when you can align your thoughts, your actions, and your words with what your core values are, man, that feels so good. And sometimes when we take that knee-jerk response, or we go from like 0 to 50 in 2 seconds, we're not moving from that place of alignment and it feels a little icky. And so when you can slow it down and move with more intentionalness, more integrity to what's most important to you, I think that's just such a beautiful process. Thank you. Okay. So, stress, as we talked about before, there are really healthy kinds of stress that actually lead to actions that are good. Like we have to have a little stress to get things done. But then sometimes there are times when you are feeling stressful and it is not helpful. Okay. So, what are some more really quick coping strategies that you can do? Number one, Super simple. Go outside. I had read this book years ago called Into the Woods about children and something called nature deficit disorder. And the author cited some studies that said that people's heart rate goes down drastically if they go walk outside for a little while. Sometimes you can't go walk outside, but in the study, they checked and saw that people who just looked at pictures of nature, their heart rate went down as well. Not as much as if you actually went outside, but still went down significantly. So go outside, pull out your phone, look at beautiful nature pictures. That will help to calm you down. And the next one is legs up the wall. Lay down on your back, put your legs up the wall. My mom's been telling me to do that for years, and I rarely do it. And she, as usual, is right. Legs up the wall can be. Do you want to say something, Shanae?
No, I was just checking to make sure I was muted because I was
Oh,
laughing.
oh, great, good,
I
good.
use that one. I use that one a lot. Sometimes my husband comes in and I lay and I put my knees on my chair and I just like breathe for a minute and then I'm like ready to revitalized and ready to attack again.
Good. And that's actually really good for your spine too when you put your knees up on your chair, right? That's great. Okay, so that chance to connect to your support service, which is the earth. Like if you can't get outside and lay in the grass, that's fine. Just lay on your carpet and feel your connection to the earth and let yourself get close to the ground. It can feel really safe and stabilizing. And then putting the legs up the wall just like brings all the blood really easily back down to the heart and just can be a really calming sensation. So number 3 I have there, this is kind of supposed to be a joke, songs, smells, and snakes. Um, I'll start with snakes first. So my friend had a snake and I would go over to her house sometimes and my kids like to play with the snake and I picked it up one day and I was like, oh, this snake is very relaxing and calming because it moves so slowly and the texture of the snake is just so interesting. And it took my mind out of a place of stress to more like exploring with my fingertips. What are these teeny tiny ridges in this snake? And I just found myself being fascinated by the snake. So maybe it's your cat, maybe it's a snake, maybe it's a fidget spinner, whatever it is. Something tactile can be really helpful. And then smells. I'm a big smell person, and my memories come back really strong with smells. And to this day, there's a perfume that one of my aunts used to wear, and she wore it the whole entire time she was alive. And if I ever get a whiff of that perfume, I just feel like I'm being enveloped in this beautiful warm hug because that's how my aunt showed up for me. So whatever your smell is that's calming, find it, hold on to it, keep it close by, and pull it out when you need it. The next one is songs. Um, in my meditation practice, I usually listen to the same song whenever I meditate. And it's so powerful. That song is so powerful to me that I can't actually play it when I teach yoga because I drop down to a meditative state really quickly when I hear that song. And so I can't overuse it because it's such a powerful trigger for me to get into that parasympathetic nervous system. So be aware of what songs, smells, textures can be helpful to you to calm you down. If we have time tonight, I'm going to lead you through a guided meditation, but we can do that at the end of the evening. So guided meditation is one. Mantras is another. Your mantra can just be a simple line of words that is meaningful to you, that again draws your mind away from all the craziness and focuses it in on one individual line that can be really powerful. The next one is humming. That sensation. Again, it's just like one more chance to use some of your other senses to help calm you down. You can feel the hum in your body, and it's supposed to also activate your vagal nerve too. So you can feel the hum in your body. You can hear the hum as well, and it gives you something else to focus on besides your crazy thoughts. And then walking. Again, it's really simple, that chance to get outside, to connect to the earth, to move your body in a really gentle, calming way. So
While you're moving to the next slide, I'm going to ask
Yeah.
everybody that's watching, what is one of your things that you do like that, that you know you can trust to bring you to calm? Walking is my number one. Walking is my number one. Walking outside is, if I'm overwhelmed or stressed, I'm just like, I need to go walk and be outside. So everybody tell us what your thing is that can bring you down. Well, down, calm down, not down sad.
All
Yeah.
right. I'm
Oh, I was just gonna say we have
okay.
people playing music, going outside, feeling the grass. Obviously, music is a huge one for me, as well. That's what my degree is in, is music. While you were talking about humming, yes, humming. I use ooh a lot because I can feel it like in my mouth and in my throat as well. So I love it. Good answers, you guys. I'm gonna let Beth move through, but I just wanted everyone to. What is your thing? Tell us. We want to hear about it.
Great. Thanks. Um, okay, so we're moving into that holiday season, and I know it gets stressful. You're around family. You're not necessarily around all your chosen people. You're with the people that you kind of were born into, and so those people are uniquely um, uh, formulated or ready to press your buttons in a way that no one else can, and also to support and love you in ways that no one else can. And so there's nothing like being around your family to make you realize that you are not enlightened like you thought you were. You have a lot more work and energy to put into to growing up, right? So I wanted you guys to know that even if you're practicing some of these techniques and then you go and make a pumpkin pie with your mom and you're going crazy in the kitchen standing next to her, it's okay. Give yourself a little bit of grace and compassion. Life is difficult and it's messy and it's a struggle. And I just encourage you to embrace the struggle and know that you are not alone. It's totally fine to go crazy around your family. And these are techniques that you can use that hopefully will help you. But if they don't, if you feel yourself slipping up and reverting back to some less than desirable behaviors, I wanted to show you this chart. I love this chart. It's really, it's a grounding thing for me to think about in my own life. A lot of times we think of life as like a ladder, like you're going to climb up the ladder. And when you get to the top, you will have reached nirvana or perfection or whatever it is that you are headed to. You will have learned all the things, you'll have applied all the lessons, and voila, there you'll be pure perfection. But life is not really a ladder. It's more like a spiral. And you keep experiencing the same things over and over and over again. So I'm going to start here with this normal right here in kind of almost the center of um, our little diagram here. So this little flow chart shows you how transformation might unfold in your own life. So let's take that normal section right there. You're in a flow of life. You're in your current status. Life is moving, it's functioning, you're doing fine. And then you move along this line and you hit a challenge. And the challenge or the change interrupts your current flow and your way of being and thinking and reacting. And a lot of times we get to that challenge and we're like, oh no, I don't want to be here. This is not fair. I don't want to deal with this. So we resist the challenge. We attempt to control the change and force our normal patterns into the situation because we want to stay in those old patterns. We don't want to change. It's hard to change. Change is unknown. So then usually we move past that resistance phase into a state of chaos because we're trying to apply old knowledge to a new situation and it is not working. And so we then are dealing with chaos. And it's uneasy, it's a struggle. Our belief systems are challenged. We might be falling apart, breaking down, that kind of thing. And eventually hopefully, we get to a space of space. So that's our ability to witness, to hold space for yourself, to listen to your own inner wisdom, to see yourself without judgment, to pull back a little bit, pan back, see the bigger picture. And then we hopefully have learned some stuff by then, and we get to an integration phase where we can grow, evolve, expand our worldview, gain greater insights, and greater capacity to experience life. And then after that, we move on to action. We can show up in a different way, putting insights into practice and into action. So we take out new action and then we continue on along that spiral and we get to our new normal and life is great again and we're comfortable and we're ready for this. And then guess what? If you move along that spiral, the cycle is begin again. You're going to run into the same situation or something very similar. But each time you run into that situation, you are a slightly different person because you have learned something new from your experience. And so knowing that you're going to run into those patterns again, you're going to repeat the same situation over and over again. And each time you can learn just a little bit more. I love to think about growth in that way because we can be really hard on ourselves and it's really not necessary. If we just know to expect to feel those same sensations and feelings and patterns again, then when we see them, we won't feel so frustrated. We're like, oh, yeah, this is coming up. I knew it was going to come back to me. And here it is. So, what am I going to try this time? How am I going to show up a little bit differently? Do you want to add something, Shanae?
No, I love that. I like the idea of a spiral for lots of reasons. One concept I really like for self and society is this concept of spiral dynamics, because it's not that I'm ahead or behind someone else or even myself, right? It's this process that continues to, just like you're saying, it evolves, but you do come back and butt up against a lot of the same things again and again. And I feel like that with pain or with healing as well, right? Like right now it's really, really bad. The next time it comes around, it's gonna still be there, but like not as intense. And you know, when I'm standing in the kitchen making pie with my mom, we might have the same, you know, interaction, but maybe this time it's gonna be a little bit better or a little bit different because we both changed. So I love that idea. I love that idea. I do want to put it out to everyone. If you have any questions for Beth that are specific to breath work or ways to use that, now is a good time. Sorry, when I'm looking on Facebook, there's a lag, so it looked like you were talking and you're not. It's me. There's a little bit of a lag, so I'm going to give everybody just a second to ask to put any questions in there. I know you said you were going to walk us through, you know, a meditative little guided meditation, and maybe that gives everybody a chance to drop any questions that they have, and people will probably pop in and watch the replay and have some more questions for us. So
Okay, great. So I should jump into we can finish things off with the meditation, and then if there's any questions that roll in, we can
I
answer those afterwards. Does that work?
yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool. Okay. All right. So let's meditate. So again, we want to find a really tall seat. Again, we want to create as much space as we can in the lungs. So that can be done in a reclined position as well, but just in a space that's not restricting your airflow. So close your eyes and from here, start to let your jaw slacken away from your mouth. Erase any little lines of tension and worry around your eyes, your mouth, shoulders. And we're going to tap into an Ujjayi breath. Ujjayi breath is a victorious breath in the yoga world. In this Ujjayi breath, you start by breathing in through your nose. And you're going to exhale through your nose as well, so the lips stay sealed. but you're going to create a little bit of tension in the back of your throat. So it almost feels like you're trying to fog up a mirror, but your mouth is closed. So that added little sound and texture to your breath can be, again, just another way to draw your awareness to this present moment. So as Janae said earlier, we grew up in the desert, kind of desert rats. And the desert has always been a very calming, relaxing place for me. So we are going to imagine together that we're walking across a desert plateau. And it is springtime. The weather is not too hot, not too cold. It's right in that perfect zone. The sun is warm, the air is crisp. You can smell just a little bit of sage on the breeze as the plants start to bloom. It's so warm and comfortable on this walk that you decide that maybe you'd like to spend some more time here. And so you sit down on the ground and lay yourself all the way onto the earth. You let your back body be supported and cradled by the sand. Feel the little pebbles underneath you and the little warm rocks that heat your skin. You spin your palms face up, you relax your toes, your knees, your thighs, your shoulders, and you just settle into the earth. And once you're there settled, you imagine you have a little pink eraser, those ones you used in elementary school, the rectangle ones, and you're going to take that eraser and you're going to move from the toes up to the ankles, to the calves. You're just erasing and smudging out the lines of your body. And as you move up the body, you release tension as you erase those areas in your body. So you're erasing the knees, the quads, the hips, the belly, the chest, the fingertips, the elbows, the shoulders. All those lines are released and let go. We're smudging into the dirt. And the eraser gets up to your chin, your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your hair, and finally the crown of your head. And what's left behind is those little pink crumbs of your eraser. Your body is gone, just the crumbs are there. And the breeze starts to blow. And you can imagine the little crumbs blowing off across the plateau, becoming a part of the desert itself, joining up with the sand, the rocks below you. Take a moment and anchor into whatever sensation you have right now. Remember that you can come back to this sensation. You can come back to this experience anytime you need to calm yourself down, anytime you need to take on some more relaxation, anytime you feel triggered. You can walk yourself through the same exercise again. All right. Do we have any questions, Janae?
I'm so relaxed. I don't know. Let me go look.
It's time for bed.
It is. While I'm going back over to Facebook, one question that I have for you is, I have been introduced to these concepts by attending a yoga class. And then, like I said, my son's counselor helped us kind of put box breathing into place for us. Uh,
Mhm.
Besides those two places, or is that where you recommend getting more information about breath work and, staying calm, things like that?
Yeah. I think, yeah, yoga classes are a great place to start. I really, I mean, I am a yoga teacher, so I am kind of partial to yoga as your avenue for breath work. But I think it's really nice to find a gentle yoga class that mixes breath work and movement, just because that gentle movement can add so much to the breath work experience and help you get into your body a little bit more. I think a lot of times we're so detached from our body. We don't even know what's going on there. We don't know what hurts. We don't know where it hurts. We just know that we feel uncomfortable. And so I really like yoga as an avenue to help you get into your body. And once you understand your body a little bit more, I think it's easier to tap into the practice of breath work. So yes, I would definitely say yoga class first.
I read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, a couple of times, and that is where that recommendation came from, is like, traumatic events or other things that have happened, and just like you said, putting yourself in your body. And that's what breath work does, right? It gives us just a little bit of space before we react so that we can stay aligned. So I love that. We don't have any other questions over here, but I will, you and I can check back in the group over the next couple of days to see if anybody has anything for us. Really, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and join us. And of course, it was a pleasure for me to see your face again. Thank you so much. And I hope that everybody feels as relaxed as I do as I go back into face my night after a little bit of meditative breath work. I know it's super powerful, and I want to encourage everyone to share, to invite your friends into the group, tag them in this if you feel like they can use it. This is the perfect time of year to really kind of brush up on any coping techniques that we have.
You need
So
them.
thank you so much, Beth.
Yeah, thank you, Shanae. It was so nice to see you. And I hope everybody has a lovely holiday season.